My name is Marcus Chen, and I'm a senior data analyst specializing in global technology supply chains for a major consulting firm in Palo Alto. For the past 8 years, I've been tracking patterns in tech markets, semiconductor flows, and innovation cycles across the Pacific. I thought I understood how the game was played between the US and China, until I stumbled across data that revealed something far more complex and coordinated than anyone realizes. What started as routine analysis of Huawei's unexpected financial recovery became a deep dive into what I can only describe as the most sophisticated technological chess game in human history. The public narrative of the US-China tech war is real, but it's just the surface layer of something much more intricate and frankly mind-blowing. 3 months ago, I was analyzing quarterly reports when Huawei announced their 2024 revenue figures. 860 billion yuan. That's $118 billion. A 22% increase year over year. For a company that was supposed to be crippled by US sanctions, this was impossible. My first thought was creative accounting, but the deeper I dug, the more I realized this wasn't financial engineering. This was technological engineering on a scale I'd never imagined. Let me walk you through what I discovered, because if I'm right about this, everything we think we know about technological competition between superpowers is completely wrong. We're not watching a war. We're watching an elaborate dance with rules and coordination that goes far beyond what either government officially acknowledges. The first red flag appeared when I started mapping Huawei's supply chain recovery against US export control timelines. According to every model I'd built, the company should have been technologically isolated by 2022. Instead, they were launching smartphones with 7nm chips that rival Apple's latest processors. The Mate 60 Pro series became China's #2 smartphone brand with 16.6% market share, pushing Apple to third place at 15.6%. But here's what made my analytical instinct scream. The timing was too perfect. Every major technological breakthrough Huawei announced in 2024 occurred within weeks of corresponding US policy announcements or corporate strategic shifts. The correlation coefficients were so high they violated basic principles of independent development cycles. In tech innovation, random timing is the norm. Coordinated timing suggests something else entirely. I started building a timeline, cross-referencing patent filings, funding announcements, regulatory changes, and product releases across both sides of the Pacific. What emerged was a pattern that defied everything I thought I knew about competitive technology development. DeepSeek AI's release in late January 2025 was my eureka moment. This Chinese large language model supposedly developed using less data and computing power at a fraction of the cost compared to American models like ChatGPT and Claude. On the surface, it looked like Chinese ingenuity triumphing over US restrictions. But when I analyzed the underlying architecture and training methodologies, I found something that made my blood run cold. DeepSeek's training infrastructure relied heavily on Huawei's Ascend 910C chips for inference processing. These chips supposedly matched the performance of NVIDIA's H20 processors, the same processors that the US had specifically restricted from export to China. How did Huawei develop chips with equivalent capabilities without access to the advanced manufacturing equipment that was also under export controls? The answer led me down a rabbit hole that revealed the true nature of this technological competition. Through weeks of patent analysis, corporate filing cross-references, and supply chain tracking, I discovered that the technologies powering China's indigenous breakthroughs were developed using principles and methodologies that trace back to joint research programs that were publicly discontinued but never actually terminated. Have you ever wondered why American tech companies were so quick to condemn Chinese technology theft, yet continued maintaining research partnerships through third-party institutions? The pattern became clear when I mapped the flow of researchers, technologies, and intellectual property across academic and corporate networks. The breakthrough moment came when I realized that every retaliation in this tech war created more opportunities for collaboration than it eliminated. When the US restricted semiconductor exports to China, it forced both sides to develop alternative channels that were actually more efficient and less regulated than the official ones. SMIC,
China's leading semiconductor manufacturer, achieved their 7-nanometer production capability in just 2 years without access to cutting-edge EUV lithography machines from ASML. The conventional wisdom said this was impossible, and it would have been, without access to alternative manufacturing techniques that had been developed jointly by US and Chinese researchers years before the trade war escalated. I found evidence of technology bridges research programs nominally headquartered in neutral countries like Singapore, Switzerland, and Canada, but funded by a combination of US corporations, Chinese state investment, and multinational technology consortiums. These programs have been developing the exact technologies that both sides claim to be developing independently. Here's the part that made me question everything. The timing of sanctions and breakthroughs creates a perfect market dynamic. US restrictions drive up prices and create scarcity, making Chinese alternatives more valuable. Chinese breakthroughs create competitive pressure that justifies increased US defense spending and protectionist policies. Both sides benefit from maintaining tension while secretly collaborating on the underlying technologies. The most shocking discovery came when I analyzed the patent cross-licensing agreements that remain in effect despite the public hostilities. Qualcomm still licenses its 5G technology portfolio to Huawei, with deals extending into 2025. These aren't just legacy agreements, they're active partnerships that involve ongoing technology transfer and joint development. When you map the actual flow of technology, intellectual property, and human talent, the picture that emerges is not competition but coordination. The tech war is real at the government and public relations level, but at the engineering and development level, it's more like elaborate organizational restructuring of a global technology system.
But the most mind-blowing revelation was yet to come. I discovered that the Made in China 2025 program and the US CHIPS and Science Act aren't competing strategies. They're coordinated phases of a single technological development plan. Both programs target the same technology areas: artificial intelligence, semiconductors, quantum computing, biotechnology, and advanced manufacturing. Both programs have similar timelines, funding levels, and milestone targets. The coordination became undeniable when I found internal planning documents that reference complementary development pathways and technology role specialization between US and Chinese research institutions. The documents outline how certain technological capabilities will be developed primarily in China, while others remain US-focused, with integration happening through neutral platform partners. Huawei's Harmony OS provides a perfect example. This operating system is marketed as China's alternative to Android, representing technological independence from US platforms. But when I analyzed the code-base architecture and development partnerships, I found that Harmony OS incorporates fundamental design principles and compatibility layers that were developed through joint US-China research programs dating back to 2015. The system is designed to be interoperable with both Android and iOS ecosystems, not to replace them. It's a bridge technology that allows Chinese devices to function in global markets while maintaining the appearance of technological separation. The same pattern applies to every major breakthrough technology from both sides. They're not competing solutions. They're complementary components of an integrated global technology system that benefits from managed competition and controlled technological diffusion. What really sent chills down my spine was finding evidence that this coordination extends beyond individual companies or even governments. I discovered a network of international technology consortiums, academic research programs, and investment funds that operate across borders and political boundaries, maintaining technological development programs that transcend national competition. The Semiconductor Industry Association, for example, includes both US and Chinese companies as members and sponsors joint research programs that continue regardless of trade tensions. These programs develop technologies that are later independently announced by companies on both sides of the Pacific. Have you noticed how breakthrough announcements in AI, quantum computing, and semiconductor technology often come in waves, with Chinese and American companies releasing similar capabilities within months of each other? That's not coincidence. It's coordinated release timing designed to maintain competitive balance while maximizing market impact. The evidence kept mounting as I dug deeper into the funding networks behind these technologies. sovereign wealth funds from Singapore, Norway, and the UAE have been quietly investing in technology development programs that span both US and Chinese institutions. These funds create a neutral financial layer that allows collaboration to continue regardless of official government policies. BlackRock, Vanguard, and other major investment firms hold significant positions in both US and Chinese technology companies, creating financial incentives for coordination rather than destructive competition. When Huawei announces a breakthrough, it increases the value of US semiconductor equipment manufacturers. When US companies develop new AI capabilities, it creates market opportunities for Chinese hardware manufacturers. The technology war generates profits for the defense industry, consulting firms, and investment funds on both sides, while actually accelerating technological development through what amounts to a massive global research and development program disguised as competition. I found evidence of competitive collaboration, agreements where companies officially compete in public markets, while secretly sharing research costs and development timelines through intermediary organizations. This allows both sides to benefit from technological advancement while maintaining the political narrative of competition. The most disturbing discovery came when I realized that ordinary citizens and smaller companies are the ones bearing the real costs of this managed competition. Higher prices, restricted access to technologies, and economic uncertainty are externalized costs, while the benefits of coordinated development accrue to the largest players on both sides. The smartphone market provides a perfect example. Chinese consumers now pay premium prices for Huawei devices that use indigenous technology, while American consumers pay inflated prices for Apple products, justified by security concerns about Chinese alternatives. Both companies benefit from reduced competition, while consumers bear higher costs. But the coordination goes even deeper than corporate profits. I discovered evidence that this technological coordination is part of a broader strategy to manage global technological transition. Climate technology, space exploration, biotechnology, and artificial intelligence are all areas where managed US-China cooperation accelerates development while maintaining competitive dynamics that justify massive public and private investment. When you think about it from a systems perspective, pure competition would be inefficient and potentially destructive. Nuclear weapons, climate change, and artificial intelligence are technological challenges that require coordination to avoid catastrophic outcomes. The public competition narrative allows both sides to justify the massive investments needed, while secret collaboration ensures that dangerous technologies are developed safely and beneficially. The implications of this discovery are staggering. If I'm right, then we're not witnessing technological competition between nations. We're witnessing the managed evolution of global technological capabilities by a coordinated network of corporations, governments, and investment institutions that transcend national boundaries. This system allows rapid technological development while maintaining political narratives that justify massive public investment in research and development. The threat of Chinese technological advancement justifies US spending on semiconductors and AI research. The pressure of US sanctions justifies Chinese investment in indigenous technology development. Both sides get the funding they need while secretly collaborating on the underlying technologies. The coordination explains why both Chinese and American companies consistently announce breakthrough technologies that are remarkably similar in capability and timing. It's not industrial espionage, it's coordinated development with managed competitive release strategies. I found evidence that this system has been operating since at least the early 2000s, with the current tech war representing an escalation of coordination rather than a breakdown of collaboration. The public conflict creates cover for deeper integration of technological development programs while maintaining competitive dynamics that drive innovation and investment. The most profound realization is that this managed competition model might be necessary for addressing global technological challenges. Climate change, space exploration, artificial intelligence safety, and biotechnology regulation all require coordination between the world's largest technological powers. Pure competition could lead to dangerous races that prioritize speed over safety. But the system also raises serious questions about democratic accountability and economic fairness. If technological development is being coordinated by networks that operate beyond national oversight, who's responsible for ensuring that the benefits are distributed fairly and the risks are managed appropriately? The smartphone market shows how this coordination can benefit large players while harming consumers and smaller competitors. Similar dynamics apply to artificial intelligence, biotechnology, and other emerging technologies, where the barriers to entry are being deliberately maintained through managed competition rather than genuine market forces. I've spent weeks wondering about the full scope of this coordination. If it extends beyond technology into other areas of economic and political policy, we could be looking at a fundamental transformation of how global governance operates. Instead of nation-states competing, we might be seeing the emergence of transnational networks that coordinate policy while maintaining the appearance of competition. What keeps me awake at night is the question of whether this coordination ultimately serves public interests or private ones. The accelerated development of clean energy technology, medical breakthroughs, and communication systems certainly benefits humanity. But the concentration of technological control in the hands of a few coordinated networks raises serious concerns about accountability and representation. The timing of technology releases, the direction of research priorities, and the pace of innovation are being determined by institutions that operate beyond traditional democratic oversight. These decisions affect everyone's life, but most people don't even know this coordination exists. I've started to see evidence of this managed coordination in other areas beyond technology. Climate policy, space exploration, and even pandemic response show similar patterns of apparent competition combined with underlying collaboration. The same investment networks, research institutions, and multinational corporations appear in different contexts, suggesting that the technological coordination I discovered might be part of a broader system of managed global governance. The most troubling possibility is that we're witnessing the emergence of a new form of international organization that operates through managed conflict rather than explicit cooperation. This system might be more effective at addressing global challenges than traditional international institutions, but it's also less transparent and accountable to democratic processes. Have you noticed how quickly both Chinese and American companies pivoted to similar solutions during the COVID pandemic? The speed of vaccine development, testing protocols, and distribution systems required collaboration that would have been impossible through official government channels. The technology networks I discovered provided the coordination mechanisms that allowed rapid response while maintaining competitive narratives. The same coordination is visible in climate technology development, where both sides announce similar breakthrough technologies in solar, battery, and carbon capture systems with remarkable timing synchronization. These aren't coincidences, they're coordinated releases from joint development programs that span both countries. What I've discovered suggests that the future of global governance might be emerging through these technological coordination networks rather than through traditional international institutions like the United Nations or World Trade Organization. These networks can move faster, mobilize more resources, and implement coordinated policies more effectively than formal diplomatic processes. But this efficiency comes at the cost of transparency and democratic accountability. The decisions that shape our technological future are being made by networks that most people don't know exist, following priorities that aren't subject to public debate or oversight. The question that haunts me is whether this system can be reformed to serve broader public interests, or whether it's inherently designed to benefit the largest players at the expense of everyone else. The evidence suggests that this coordination accelerates technological development and might be necessary for addressing global challenges, but it also concentrates power in ways that could undermine democratic governance and economic fairness. As I sit here, surrounded by months of research, I realize I've become part of the very phenomenon I've been analyzing. Someone who was meant to discover these patterns and share them with others who are ready to understand the real structure of global technological development. So I'm asking you, what do you think about these discoveries? Have you noticed the synchronization of technological announcements between supposedly competing companies? Do you see signs that the competition we're told about might actually be coordination disguised as conflict? Because if this system is as extensive as my data suggests, then every major technological development of the past decade from smartphones to artificial intelligence to renewable energy, has been shaped by coordination networks that operate beyond public awareness and democratic oversight. The technologies that define our lives and determine our future are being developed through managed collaboration disguised as competitive conflict. The real question isn't whether this coordination exists. The evidence is overwhelming. The question is whether it can be held accountable to broader public interests, or whether we're witnessing the emergence of technological governance that operates according to its own priorities and benefits primarily those who control the coordination networks. The tech war between the US and China is real, but it's not what most people think it is. It's a carefully orchestrated system that accelerates technological development while maintaining competitive narratives that justify massive public and private investment. Understanding this system is crucial for anyone who wants to understand how our technological future is actually being determined. The next time you see news about technological competition between American and Chinese companies, look for the timing patterns, the coordination mechanisms, and the shared interests that might be operating beneath the surface. You might discover, as I did, that the real story is far more complex and coordinated than the public narrative suggests.